So today I wanted to talk about mindset, specifically about resilience. Now, resilience is something that as a leader, you find that through successive roles in organisations you tend to acquire. So people describe it as scar tissue or just thick skin, but inevitably as you go through life and through work environment, you come across difficulties, you come across challenges. And I guess as you meet successive challenges, generally successfully, you start to equip yourself with certain mental models. And it is really about mindset. Resilience for me is really all about mindsets. You can build physical routines that will help you get your body to support your mind, but from all my experience, resilience comes from your mental models. And certainly from my time in the military, you'd find yourself in situations where your body would just be, that's it, I'm done. And then really it's that quiet voice in your head that tells you to get up and keep going. And certainly when you're selecting people in the military, you are looking for physical capabilities, but what's more important is their mental strength. And mental strength, like physical strength, can be built. You can work on your resilience. And from my experience working with leaders, as they get more and more senior, they move into successively more challenging roles. But by definition, there is a hierarchy. There's a dominance hierarchy, and as you get into bigger roles, it becomes tougher. And some people self-select out of that. They just don't want that kind of difficulties. They're not prepared for those kind of challenges, the kind of pressure that comes with often more senior roles. And sometimes they're selected out because they're just not able to deal with that. And I find then working with leaders to help say, well, how do we optimize you? How do we give you the best chance to be resilient? And pressure is a part of life. I mean, as human beings, we're designed to live under some degree of optimal pressure. We're by definition goal-orientated creatures. We're moving towards something, or we're moving away from something. That's just the nature of, I think, humanity. I guess in a work environment, though, we will have different kinds of goals, we'll have different kinds of challenges. So leaders that actually spend time thinking about their resilience, optimizing it, think of it as that sort of bank account, almost that metaphor that, how resilient am I feeling now, and how can I build my level of resilience so that I can deal with successful challenges. Because it's not just about your own ability to sort of operate. Your team rely on you. So as a leader, you've got the expectations and the needs of the people around you. So by definition, you have to become more resilient with the more people that you serve and that are under your care. So as I said, resilience for me is really about your ability to take on additional pressure to the point that it doesn't become stress. We'll probably do a separate video on this, but for me, stress is a negative thing. If you're under stress, that's going to start to denude you. That's going to cause chemical responses. It's going to affect your biology, as well as your mental and your physical state. So the idea for me is resilience is about ability to work under sustained pressure, but maintain that as being positive pressure that allows you to perform versus turning to negative stress. And I guess mental models are really important for that. So what I tend to find is leaders that are very good at this, I've worked with probably more in the mentoring space actually than the coaching, but mentoring and coaching, exploring people, how they view the world and how they often reframe difficulties and challenges into something that's very helpful. So one example is, for example, they leaders that are very good at this, they tend to think very clearly about their circle of influence, the things they can control, and the circle of concern, the things you could worry about, but actually there's no point. So they save the mental energy to focus on the things that they can affect, and really they switch themselves off from all the sort of the worries that, the coulds, the mays, the things that are happening out there that might happen, but there's no point really worrying about it. So they're very good about managing circle of concern, circle of influence. I also find they reframe difficulties to opportunities. So, like I must do something versus I get the opportunity. And a great sort of motto that I've experienced personally, and I've heard other leaders mention it, is this framing pressure for privilege. So it sounds a bit odd, but pressure for privilege. And certainly my experience this was when I was in the military, and I was in sort of training at Sandhurst. You did some difficult stuff there, and I can't remember if it was at Sandhurst. It might have been on some sort of platoon commander's battle course, but it was some kind of training institution I was at, and they sleep deprive you. They mess with your mind. They'll take you on long runs, and you'll approach a set of vehicles. Think, oh, this is it. We're going to get on the vehicle, and just as you get close to the vehicle, it drives off. Got to keep going, or you're running back towards camp, and just as you're about to get to camp, you think, oh, we're getting back home. Hot shower soon. They turn around and run you away again. So they do loads of things like that just to get you just to start to just not worry about what's going to happen in the future. But pressure is a privilege is a really good one, because as I said, this was where I think it was a particularly low moment. I was looking particularly unhappy, and I remember a platoon sergeant came up to me and saying, how's it going, sir? Don't forget, pressure is a privilege. It's only for the special people. And at the time, I think I was probably waist deep in mud somewhere in probably Wales, dragging some ridiculous weight. And I thought, pressure's a privilege. But I thought, yeah, actually, only special people, only people who are respected are given difficult things to do in organisations. So if you reframe that sense that I've been recognised and I've got the privilege of leading people and teams through difficult times, it doesn't take away necessarily the sense that things are difficult, but I think your orientation becomes, I need to step up to this. You stand a little bit taller, you reframe difficulties to opportunities, and you do recognise that being asked to do difficult things is a privilege. So I think for me that's a really good example of a mindset, and I always encourage leaders to look back in their past difficulties. How have they overcome those difficulties? Was there a mental model? Was there a motto? Was there a phrase? Was there some sort of analogy that served them well? And how do they sort of mine those little nuggets so that as you go forward, you're really explicit about those mottos, those metaphors? And I find certainly, when times are difficult for me, I do say to myself, remember, Robin, pressure is a privilege. It's only for special people. I'm under pressure, but I'm not allowing it to stress me out. So that would be my advice to people. Really think about your mindsets. Think about resilience as something that you can maintain and build. Clearly there's a physical component, not just a mental component. So nutrition, rest, exercise, all those things will help you to be more resilient. But then think about, how do you mine your past difficulties? What were the mental models, the phrases, the mottos that you've used in the past? Maybe you've heard other people, motivational speakers, share those. Adopt those models, make them explicit, and you'll find that with practice, you will become more and more resilient. I hope that helps.